Our dear listeners, those who follow us, those who are with us in this journey, I want to welcome you once again and say thank you so much for encouraging us. Thank you so much for making a comment there, liking our sites and subscribing. Those of you who have subscribed, I'm very glad and I'm blessed because you have always done that. And you have always believed in what we share. You have always believed in the message that we bring to you. And I want to say thank you so much for keeping on. Thank you so much. Those of you pray for us, those of you stand with us in all circumstances. I want to say the Lord bless you. And this time we come with a yet another great message. And this is another one that we could have waited for some time. This is another one that affects our marriages now and again. And I'm sharing about comparing your spouse, the issue of comparison, comparing your spouse now and again, comparing your spouse with others, with the surroundings, with the other people that you have met. That is what we have come to demystify. That is what we have come to elaborate on and see how do we do this. It is something that affects most of us. It is something that is very common in our marriages. It is something that touches most of us. We are living in a society where it is full of social media and people are comparing this and the other one. They are comparing the models, with the fashion styles, they're comparing with the different things that are around us. And I've come to share with you, dear friends, how we can handle this matter of comparison. I want to tell you, even when you take for how long to date your girlfriend or your man, you take for how long to be in a relation, in courtship, even before you marry. I want to tell you, even after that long, when you marry, you will see someone better than your spouse. You will see someone, who is better in some way than this spouse that you have taken very longer to search for and to marry. You'll find someone who is better in a smile or someone who is better, in body, the physique structure. You'll find someone who is better in height, in size. You'll find someone who is better, in warmth. Some people, for some reason, they are more kinder. They offer more warmth than others. Their relationship, they bring more warmth, So you will meet someone who is better in that, someone with in humor, better than your spouse in terms of humor, in terms of kindness, in terms of care, in terms of respect. So you will meet someone who is better. And I've come to share with you, dear friends, that the issue of comparison is likely to set in. Is likely to set in. But dear friends, we have had a discussion over time that has been, around. If you're with your spouse and you're walking together on the streets, or you're driving together, or you're in a function, maybe attending a function, those functions where we dress like extremely well, those ones of wedding, giveaway ceremonies, and others where corporate functions where really people dress up to their best, put on their best attires. So I want to challenge us, dear friends, when you are there with your spouse and your spouse makes a comment about some other opposite sex, it's like, look at that hot chick. Dear wife, how do you respond? How do you handle that one? Your husband is looking at another woman and saying, wow, look at that hot chick. She's the best. How do you respond? Will it mark you the worst of the event that you have had? Will you have the most terrible day? How will you respond? How will you return? How will you react to this, dear friend? What if you're with your wife and your wife is like, wow, that man, the way he's putting on is exactly what I would love. He's doing my best. He's doing exactly my colors. He's doing my fashion. He's doing, my way of dress code. He's doing exactly what I would have wanted in a man. So when your wife does a comment like that in public, they can do it in public. They can do it when you are the two of you. I want to ask you, dear friends, how do you respond? Do you feel this is unforgivable? Do you feel this is the worst blunder ever made in your life? Do you feel this is a mockery of the day that you have had? Do you feel someone is treading on you? Do you feel someone is, stepping on you? How do you feel, dear friend? I want to challenge you, dear friends. These things will happen. And I want to ask you, take it easy. Take it easy. There will be someone who is better than you in many ways. There's someone who is more beautiful than you in many ways. There's someone who is more hot than you. With someone who has more humor than you, who is more kind than you, who is more caring than you, there's someone who is more handsome than you. So when your spouse makes a comment, take it easy. It should be in good heart. It should be in good heart. I would not condemn when it becomes a habit. I would condemn it when it becomes a habit that every time you're traveling with your spouse, you're moving with your spouse, you find that your spouse is throwing away comments recklessly, carelessly all the time. But I want to tell you, if it comes in once in a while, please take it easy. It should be very fine with you. It should be very fine with you. And comparing your spouse, of course, I want to say that in my own experience, you may put it on a test, but in my own experience, it normally tests us, it normally challenges, it normally comes in when we have a tense relationship. Most times, especially where it becomes common, where it hurts you now and again. Maybe you have spoken about this and it has not worked out. Sometimes it is filling some gap in this person's life. Yes. Sometimes filling some gap. Sometimes it's filling some brokenness. Sometimes it is, coming in to try to help this person in some way. But I want to tell you, dear friends, it will come. It will come. Comes in when there's a tense relationship. So when it comes, and maybe it is often, maybe it is what, sometimes there are certain things you need to respond to. Sometimes you may need to sit on a round table and discuss about this thing. Sometimes you may find out why. For example, let me tell you, if you are struggling in your sex life, I want to assure you this thing of comparison will be happening now and again. If you're struggling with an issue of nagging, you're struggling with an issue of nagging in your marriage, you're struggling with an issue of love and respect in your marriage, I want to tell you this issue of comparison will be coming in. So I want to challenge you, dear friends. Take it easy. Find out how you can handle it without flexing yourselves, without exchanging, without I will show him or show her, without coming up, to show this person you can treat them. So, dear friends, we need to handle that area with care. We need to handle it process by process. It is not something that I will show him and this one has to stop today. It should never come back again. No, we handle it process by process. And friends, why does it become a problem? We are living in a society where people are already hurt, people are already feeling rejected, people have a lot of issues. I went to the visitation of my girl, and actually it was not visitation, it was a parents meeting. And the head teacher was telling us, the administration was telling us the kind of issues they have with our teenagers. Our teenagers, a simple disciplinary action on them, they think of suicide. They think of damaging their body. They think of damaging their body. They can get something sharp and they start cutting themselves. And when someone is bleeding, a simple rebuke on these teenagers, they will react in a way that is extremely outrageous. So some of our spouses that we have, they could have had their past experiences and they have had these challenges, dear friends, that anything to collect on them, anything to challenge on them, they will think of something that is so extreme. Our society, people are rejected, people are feeling downcast, people are feeling they have a lot of self-esteem issues, people are feeling ruined their spirits. They're feeling ruined their spirits, dear friends. They have a lot of negative confessions about themselves. Worst of it, about themselves. They don't love themselves. So when you add on comparing such a spouse with someone else, wow, you may face the worst of your day, the worst of your life. So I want to challenge you, dear friends. Some people are already heartbroken. You meet people with unproportional anger, inappropriate anger, unproportional anger. People are so angry over small things. Anything you step on them, they can burst out, and you are like, what have I done to myself? So, dear friends, feeling immeasurable. Young people are feeling immeasurable, who are feeling low in the spirit, who feel so challenged, they feel like nothing has worked out well for them in their lives. So, dear friends, I want to challenge you. You may be married to a spouse, and you may be even 20 years in marriage, but this spouse or yourself, you have never felt your spouse recognizes you of the value that is you feel within you, of the value that you feel within you, dear friends. You feel it's so terrible, so challenging. So I want to call upon you, dear friends, that we need to begin to position ourselves and know the value that is within us, the worth that is within us. You reconcile with yourself, and you believe of who you are. You believe of who you are, dear friends. Let me tell you this issue of comparison, the sin of comparison. Do you know that people have gone for higher career, they have advanced in their career? Sometimes they are competing with something within themselves. It is not just aspiration, it's not just inspiration that they have, but sometimes they are competing with a neighbor, they are competing with some relative, they are competing with a spouse at times at worst. They are competing over certain issues. They have already a battle within themselves. He's a doctor. I will not settle until I also become a doctor, PhD, doctor of philosophy. He's what? I will also not settle until I reach there. People, they have this kind of property, they have an apartment. I will not settle until I also have an apartment. So people already have internal wars. Internal wars. So this issue of comparison will just worsen the situation. Will just worsen the situation. So, dear friends, I want to challenge you and I want to call upon you, dear friends, that we need to accept each other the way we are. When we are asking for a marriage relationship, the man, I would expect the man comes and is like, would you marry me? When he says, would you marry me? It's like, would you marry me the way I am? This wife that you brought at home that you married, did you love her the way she is? She has weaknesses. She will fail on sexual issues sometimes. She will fail on the way she responds to you. She may burst out, she may become emotional. But would you love her the way she is? Would you love this man the way he is? Would you respect each other the way they are? They will have issues. They will have negative side. They will have, the side that will not work out well for you. But dear friends, we are asking, would you love me the way I am? Would you treat me the way I am? That's the issue. That's the issue, dear friends. So, the dangers of comparison. What could be the dangers of comparison? One, when you do a lot of when you're involved in comparison of your spouse against one, so your spouse, one, it creates a lot of negative energy. It creates a lot of negative energy, dear friend. It does not develop you in any way. It creates negative energy. It brings poison in your mind, like your spouse is not enough. Like your spouse is not enough of what you would want. So you who is doing a lot of comparison, comparing your spouse against this and the other, this one and the other one, I want to tell you, dear friends, it brings poison into your relationship. It demeans your spouse, and it places you in a position of a biased position. And it creates a lot of feeling like you did not make the right choice, feeling like you are not in the right place, feeling like you are not with the right person. So, dear friends, I want to challenge you. It limits your advancements. Every time you create negative energy in your life, just it will limit your advancement, it will limit your development, it will limit your successes, keeps you down. Because every time you feel like you are not with the right person, you feel like you are not in the right place. So, dear friends, I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you. Believe your spouse, respect them for who they are, love them for who they are. For who they are, dear friends. It hardly comes with any positive discussion. It hardly comes with any positive discussion. So I want to challenge you, dear friends, that we need to concentrate on things that build us, on things that uplift us, on things, that strengthen us, on things that, encourage us. Let me tell you, dear friends, now when you go in the area of comparing your spouse in terms of sexual matters, you begin creating fantasies to the person who has just passed by, the person you've just met on the way, the person who is a neighbor maybe, because you feel they are better than your spouse, because you feel they are at a higher level than your spouse, and you could begin creating fantasies. It started with just an attraction, being attracted to them, but finally you are creating fantasies of when they are naked, when you can just share a body, you can share your body. Isn't that sin? That is where it takes us, dear friends. So I want to challenge us to avoid this, to avoid this comparison. It creates plan B in your relationship, in your mind, in your life. You get a lot of plan B. So I want to challenge you, dear friends. When to create plan B, what do? Poison is your relationship. You begin creating unrealistic standards, unrealistic expectations. Wow. That one brings down your spouse. That one will crumble your relationship with your friends. That one will crumble down your relationship because you're creating unnecessary and unrealistic expectations and standards. to yourself and your marriage relationship, dear friends. So I want to challenge you that we need to have a way forward. We need to find how can we handle it better. We need to find, dear friends, what is the way forward. One, I want to share with you some things that I believe that you can use to handle this comparison to overcome it. One, like I've told you, I've repeated it several times, you need to believe your spouse of who they are. You need to love them and respect them for who they are. You need to know this is my spouse, I married, and this is who she is. You know, some of their negatives, identify their weaknesses, identify their strengths, and take them the way they are. When you are running projects, we do a SWOT analysis. When we do a SWOT analysis, we are identifying the strengths, we are identifying the weaknesses, we are identifying the opportunities, we are identifying the threats. And now we know this is who we are as an organization. This is where this project is. This is where it's coming from. It has threats to fight against. It has these weaknesses to overcome. But it also has a strength that will help it to come up. It has opportunities to pursue. From outside, opportunities to pursue. So, dear friends, your spouse has opportunities and has strength. So, will you concentrate on these strengths and opportunities? Shall you concentrate on them? You know, someone sang a song, it depends on how you have taken care of your spouse. What you have put in your mind about your spouse sometimes matters a lot. Matters a lot. Did you know that when we marry, we have brought in someone into our lives and we have committed to make them a better people? We have promised to make them a better people. You want to present a better wife before God than the one you married. You want to present a better man to God than when you married. You've been married for 20 years. Maybe you've been married for 30 years. If God asks for accountability from you, would you account very well of what you have done in the life of this man or this woman? Dear friends, there's a time for accountability. There's a time for accountability. So just keeping to compare your spouse against this and the other, no, it will not help you. Just know this is what God gave you. It is a gift from God. Your wife is a gift from God. Your husband is a gift from God. Shall you treat the gift of God the way it deserves? The level it deserves? No, this is a gift from God that you have. And your friends, treat your spouse as such. As a gift from God, you have to hand a gift for it with care. And God chose the best for you. The best for you. Nagging, quarrels, attacking, and kind, and caring. The best gift to God for you. The issue is we are work in progress. We keep working on each other, working on each other. It will not help to keep telling your wife about other wives how they do life. Telling your husband about other husbands how they do life. You're quoting the other neighbor, you're quoting the other neighbor, you're quoting the other neighbor. It may not help much. But can we do the action points? Can we align our action point of how we can improve ourselves? How we can become better husbands and better wives, dear friends? So yes, respect each other the way we are, dear friends. And maybe the ones outside that you're comparing your spouse against, they could be better just because you don't live with them. I know when I'm here talking about these things, I may look like an angel. I need married fellowships here and I minister. I may look like an angel, but I want to tell you, my wife can tell you, I am not. And I respect her word. I am not. I have a lot of issues. I have a lot of weaknesses. I want to thank God so much for her, my wife, Sharon Chibatenda. She has put up with me the way I am. You know that there's the Emma who is in public talking and there's the Emma that she sleeps with in the bed. We are likely to have a difference. But the Lord has been faithful to us, dear friends. So, dear friends, I want to challenge us. Remember, your spouse is also sharing a destiny with you. We are working for a common destiny. We are all children called by God. We are all children who will end up in a place where it is not about gender. It's not about man and woman. It is about children of God who will be in the place with God. Dear friends, we'll be in heaven with God, you know. So let us create this love. Let us continue to love each other equally. You know, God has given us this gift. God has loved us unconditionally, eros love. So we also ought to love each other unconditionally. Let your love for your spouse not be measured up on how they have dressed you, on how they have looked today, how they have done makeup today, how they have outcompeted the other neighbor, how they have outcompeted the other friend. Dear friends, let your love be unconditional. And that's the covenant love that I shared about some time back, dear friends. Have you known, do you still remember this Psalms 139? 139, the whole of it talks about how God is so wonderful. God is a wonder, creating us, knitting us together in our mother's wombs, creating us and making us who we are. God put in his best. So the psalmist, Psalms 139, verse 14, he comes out and he says, I am wonderfully and beautifully, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful and fearfully made. So if you're wonderful and fearfully made, just know even your spouse, your wife, your husband is also wonderfully and fearfully made. The day you get an inspirational revelation of that scripture, dear friends, your whole life will change. That you are wonderfully and fearfully made. So, dear friends, hold ourselves as such, that we are wonderful and fearfully made. Theodore Roosevelt, he has this quote that people have used in several places, in several books, and they will tell you that comparison is a thief of joy. Theodore Roosevelt, he says, comparison is a thief of joy. Because the more you compare your spouse with the others, the more you get distracted, the more you get a distance between this one, the way you begin to have in plan B, you begin to think of other things, the way you feel is insufficient, not enough, the way you feel, distancing yourselves, and you're poisoning and killing your relationship with your friend. So I want to challenge you, find a lot of good things in your spouse and hold on that. Hold on that, dear friend. No one is an angel. No one is an angel. There will be weakness, there will be challenge, but none is an angel. It is only the grace of God that has helped us, dear friends. The issue of comparison, you will kill your relationship, you will break your marriage, because every time you're comparing with so and so, so and so. And those of you who are being compared, those of you who are victims, I want to challenge you. Comfort yourself in the Lord. Every morning, wake up to speak to yourself, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am a child of God. I have a destiny. I'll be in heaven with God. I'll live all my eternity with God. That's what will build you. That's what will encourage you. When your spouse speaks some negative things, speak to yourself, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. May the Lord God bless you so much. I want to believe that it will help you. I want to pray that you'll come out of this issue of comparison and you're dying of it and you're losing your trend. Dear friends, stand knowing I am fearfully and wonderfully made. The Lord bless you.